When you look at the Cortijo Jurado mansion in its recently renovated state, it's really hard to imagine all of the horrors that its walls have witnessed, or that its sinister past has left a mark on the house that is so profound that it's known as one of, if not the most haunted house in Spain. Today, I'm going to be your tour guide as we learn about the house and explore the secrets that lay buried underneath it. Are you ready? Then take my hand, hold it tight, and let's walk into the darkness together. Although we don't have an exact date because of the paperwork that has never been found, we know that somewhere between 1830 and 1840, the extremely wealthy Hereda family picked the province of Malaga to build their summer home to spend time away from their hometown of La Rioja. Yet, calling it a summer home might be a bit of a stretch since once built, the place not only had a huge mansion with 365 windows, one for each day of the year, but also had a full working farm within the grounds that had the workers' quarters, stables, farm animals, and the land used for farming. Now, the Hereda family eventually became bankrupt and sold the home in 1925 to the Larios family, who were another wealthy aristocratic family of the time, and with who the Hereda family kept very close ties after. But during the time that the Hereda family lived in the mansion, and shortly after their patriarch died, rumors began to spread of the Hereda family and their satanic worshipping due to the friendships with families in England and France who happened to have very libertine lifestyles. But when girls from the surrounding area that ranged in age from 18 to 21 began to disappear, the rumors began to deepen, now stating that they had begun to kidnap women to use in sexual satanic rituals in the mansion's chapel, and that many of the wealthy families of the area were also participating in these rituals. Now, some of the bodies of the young girls would wash up in the shores of a river that was nearby to the mansion, which only fueled the fire. The bodies that were never found were claimed to have been buried deep in the mansion, in the tunnels that the family had built to link the mansion to the farm area. In fact, it was through these tunnels that the bodies of the poor, tortured girls were said to have been transported from the chapel to the farm area, which was less visible and therefore more discreet. And then they were taken to the river from there and dropped in. Now, although everyone suspected the Hereda family, no one dared to officially accuse them, and they claimed that due to their position and wealth, they were able to evade justice. So, this continued to happen for a good long while. As I said before, the Larios who bought the home from the Hereda had a very close friendship, and I'm not sure if they had been one of the wealthy families that were rumored to have participated in the rituals, but I did find an article that claimed that even after the Hereda family sold their mansion, girls continued to vanish for a time, while other articles claimed that it stopped. So if it did continue, I'd put my money on the fact that the Larios were definitely one of the families involved. But anyway, eventually the girls stopped vanishing, and the house changed owners once again to the Quesada family, and then again to a wealthy doctor from a city called Valladolid, until 1975, when the Jurado family acquired it and gave it its current name of Cortijo Jurado. But due to all the rumors, everyone knows the place as La Casa Encantada, or the Enchanted House. See, it's not just past rumors that have won it the name, but its current ones as well. The now deserted mansion is known to be extremely haunted, with too many people coming forth and claiming to have witnessed some sort of paranormal phenomena to ignore the claims. There have been photos taken that have shown strange light columns when there was no possible light source. Orbs tend to appear in photos and video as well. Some people see shadows standing in the windows, and others claim to have heard screams or voices. People feel that someone tries to grab them by their clothing or backpack. Objects have a tendency to move on their own. There are sudden temperature drops reported all around the property. They claim that sometimes they hear whispers when no one is near them. Figures will appear and then suddenly vanish. One of these tends to be a man in a hat. Another figure that appears extremely often is one that shows itself in one of the farmhouse's towers. Paranormal investigators have flocked to the mansion to perform endless amounts of tests, including EVP sessions that have picked up an endless amount of voices, some of which have revealed that there are bodies buried in the mansion's courtyard, which is the same courtyard where people have constantly claimed to have seen a figure appear. EVP sessions have also disclosed dates, names, and info that can be linked back to the times where the said satanic rituals had been held. In the year 2000, Jorge Rivera went into Cortijo, Jurado with film crew and actors to film a short film about Lovecraft. But things became extremely complicated for him during the project. So much so, in fact, the people ended up stating that the film was cursed. Not only did the crew see shadows and hear noises around the home, but there were other things that were going on, like a fire that broke out in a fruit vendor store in town that was one of the filming locations. Another was a child actor who suddenly became ill after visiting the house and was hospitalized for months. And the worst of all happened to another one of the actors, who fell down an elevator shaft in the house and shortly after being released from the hospital, simply vanished without a trace and hasn't been heard from ever again. They also claim that the batteries on their equipment were continuously drained without reason, but the main reason why the film never saw the light of day was because every time they tried to edit the footage and save it to the hard drive, it seemed to mysteriously vanish as if they had never saved it. Eventually, they just gave up. Later on, Jorge would make a documentary called Unfading, where he talked about this and investigated into the subject. This, of course, contributed greatly to the legend of the mansion, but the accidents that happened with the film aren't the only ones that have occurred in the mansion. A 20-year-old man went there with friends to investigate the grounds and ended up falling down a well that was 30 meters or almost 100 feet deep. The young man did survive, but had to remain in a wheelchair for life. Another accident happened during some work that was being done at the Cortijo Jurado. The earth opened up underneath a heavy truck and swallowed it whole, and they ended up quickly covering up the excavation site with concrete to avoid further disasters. So, the real question is it true, right? Well, while looking around, I couldn't find the names of the girls that vanished, but it seems to have been a well-known, non-disputed fact. The satanic rituals are a little harder to prove, but we do know that the tunnels did exist. And during the time, underground tunnels were very common with high society in Europe, and yes, some of the tunnels have been used for satanic rituals. So yes, it's possible. Now, although the tunnels were closed off in the 1950s, and now if anyone tries to enter them, they'll come face to face with a concrete wall, there was one curious person who managed to slip into them before they did, though. A young man by the name of Manuel Martin was trying to impress his friends by showing his courage and decided to go into them. He claims that what he saw left him in such fear that he ran away, feeling a panic he had never felt before. When asked what he saw, he claimed that as he went down the tunnels, he came across chambers that hosted a number of different torture devices. He also claimed that he found human bones in some of them. His story corroborated what many of the workers had claimed to have stumbled upon as well through the years. Yet, as in most cases where people discover something like this, everyone basically decided that Manuel's imagination had gotten the best of him. and that he had just been another of the many who had believed the story so much that he saw what wasn't there. Although this happened when Manuel was 18, he has never changed his version of the events that happened. If all of this wasn't enough of a crazy backstory, there are also some who claim that during the Civil War, the grounds of the mansion were host to a number of executions. The mansion was also used as a hospital for a time, and the tunnels as a prison. Now, as I mentioned before, there was a time when the mansion passed from one person to the next, and then things kind of just went quiet. The mansion lost its beauty. The vegetation around it died and everything fell into ruins, as you can see in some of the photos, giving it a very ghostly and haunted look to go with the legend that surrounds it. Until a company called Mirador Group bought it with the plans to make it a lavish hotel. Malaga officials were very pleased with this and made a big deal of it with the ceremony. They brought in the media, and the mayor even showed up to place the first ceremonial brick in what would be the start of the renovations and the construction. Yet it never happened. 4 years passed and not a single brick was laid out beyond the ceremonial one. I'm not going to bore you with the in-depth details, but it turns out that the Mirador Group had actually agreed to start construction on various projects with different companies and never went through with any of them, and were being sued by several of them because of it. And so Cortijo Jurado was passed along once more in 2014 to a company named Promociones Panti. But after what had happened already with the Mirador Group, the City Hall decided to make sure that Promociones Panti didn't plan to do the same, and so they kind of forced the company into renovating the mansion, as you can see in the pictures. In 2016, after the renovations, it was put up for sale again. Years later, in 2022, a company called Sinerva Holding Group bought it once again and has decided to turn it into a huge office building, complete with cafeterias and a conference hall that will hold up to 200 people. And as you can also see in the pictures, it's looking like their plans are to go big or go home. In fact, the office complex is said to be over 20,000 square meters, which is over 215,000 square feet, and is going to cost over 20 million euros to make. Malaga City Hall wasn't too happy with the project, wishing instead to have it had turned into a hotel since most of the area consists of them. But beggars can't be choosers, and considering the bad luck they have had with it turning into a functional part of the town, and the fact that Sinerva Holding Group has agreed to keep the mansion as a central part of the project and maintain it as close as possible to its original form, I guess they decided that this would be better than a few more decades of it going from person to person and never getting anything done with it. Plus, the complex is said to have state-of-the-art systems that will make it very energy efficient, so it's even going to be good for the planet. Now, if you're still with me, you're awesome, and that's why you get an extra fun fact about the mansion. Apparently, from what I saw in 2 different articles, mediums and paranormal investigators that have searched the place have found old manuscripts that predict disasters that will befall the world. I'm assuming that if it's real, they must have come from the rituals performed in the tunnels. And I have a quote that is said to be from the manuscripts. It reads, "La pesadilla viene, todos morirán," which translates to, "The nightmare is coming, all will die." And that seems like a good place to end this video. Comment below on what you think about the Cortijo Jurado, if you think it's really haunted and believe it's sinister past, or if you just think it's an old wives' tale. Also, let me know where you're from if you found me through a bill. You can help my small channel grow by sharing it with others who love spooky haunted house stories just like us. And remember, as always, to like if you liked and subscribe if you want more. And also, we made it to 100 subscribers and I could not be happier. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.